So guys, welcome back. Today I have a brand new guest, ex-England rugby captain, Pat Sanderson. So Pat, tell the viewers a bit about yourself.
That's a hard question, that is, to tell you about yourself. Middle-aged white male. You used to play rugby, now working in a bank, disappointingly. I played rugby for 16, 17 years professionally across 3 clubs. I guess, and then post-rugby did 7 or 8 years with Sky Sports. In that time kind of found myself working for an investment bank in London, and now I guess downhill all the way in many respects.
So growing up as a child, did you ever feel did you ever think that you were going to be a professional rugby player?
So not as a child, because it wasn't professional. So, and I think, you know, I don't think people grow up going, I'm going to be a professional at anything. I don't think that's the goal of any sports person, to be honest. I think, you know, with sport, it tends to be, I love doing something. I want to be a footballer, or I want to be a rugby player, or I want to be whatever, a tennis player. You grow up going, I want to be a player. And that's how I grew up. I didn't grow up going, I want to get paid to do it. And frankly, even when I was getting paid to do it, I didn't get out of bed going, I'm getting paid to do this today. But from as young as I can remember, my ambition was to play rugby for England and be an England rugby player. And I guess, you know, kind of halfway through that journey, I guess it turned professional in post '95 World Cup, and then it was all about getting paid to do it. But that was never the motivation really. But yeah, there was never any doubt in my mind that I was going to be a rugby player.
So, like you were saying on the first question about that you've now gone into like banking from Sky Sports. If you didn't go into sport, what would have been your chosen profession?
Do you know, it's a really difficult question to answer because I only ever really wanted to play rugby, right? And I guess in many respects, my path through education was largely driven by my sport. So, you know, the school I went to, which university I wanted to go to, was all the teams were based around where I was going to play the best rugby, and that was just what I wanted to do. And I guess I didn't really have a plan B. If I'm being honest with you, I was a reasonably bright kid at school. I did okay at school, got good results, but I got good results because I wanted to go to a good university to play good rugby, not because I necessarily like doing, you know, quadratic equations. Who does? But I think I probably would have found myself into engineering or finance because I was definitely kind of wired that way a little bit in terms of, you know, I was good at the sciences and whatnot, and certainly university-wise, that was the way I was going to go. So when I finished playing rugby, I guess the natural kind of path to take was probably down that sort of route. So I thought, well, in the absence of anything better to do, and it's weird because it wasn't I want to work in the bank. It was very much, okay, I finished playing rugby, that part of my life's over, I've got 2 choices, something completely different, or I stay in rugby. And for me, it was, you know, how do I give some stability to the family and earn some money and, you know, kind of pay them back for sticking with me through the highs and lows of rugby. And I thought the best way of doing that is getting into the city and ensuring that they could live in a nice house and, you know, go to a nice school and go on nice holidays and perhaps give back to the people that supported me. Because, you know, being a professional athlete is a really, really, really selfish endeavour. There's no question.
So, what professional club did you enjoy playing for the most, and why?
God, it's a bit like saying which of your children do you love the most. Like, you love them all differently for different reasons, or not at all. You know, like I started at Sale, which was my first professional club.
Yeah.
And loved it for that reason in many respects. It was my hometown club. I'm from north of Manchester, really. I was born in Chester, but we live north of Manchester, and you know, so I guess if you're going to play anywhere for your first club, you want it to be your home club, and that was quite a strong draw. And I've got some brilliant mates, and it's a really unencumbered time of your life. You know, you're kind of out of university or in university and doing it or whatever, but you've got no real responsibilities. So, you know, you're kind of mixing the work and the play pretty effectively. We're getting paid to do something you love doing, and at the same time, you know, enjoying your mates and getting out in town, and we're in a great city like Manchester. So they were brilliant years. And then as you kind of work through it, you know, then I moved away and I played for Harlequins, and again, fantastic club, steeped in some real heritage, you know, and history. and played with some absolute legends. When I got there was Keith Ward, Will Carling, real kind of legends of the game, and Will Greenwood and people like that. I mean, and again, an experience London and all that London has to bring. So that was a great experience. And then finally finished up at Worcester, where I guess the club really took me to heart as an individual. I was captain there for the entirety of my time there, and it was a fantastic experience where you kind of give your life and your soul to something in a different way. And I matured and grew up, and my evolution as a person and as a player kind of evolved with each different club. So it's really hard to say, oh, I like that club best, or I like that club best, because I genuinely do like them all for very different reasons. So I probably wouldn't pick, and I'm not just sitting on the fence. It's like, I am what I am today because of my experiences at all three, and would say that for all different reasons, I like them all, and lucky really to have played for so long, but to have played for three great clubs.
Yeah, they are.
It's not answered your question at all, have I?
Not really, but I get what you mean. And you've gone into deep depth of why you enjoy playing at both clubs, or all three, in fact.
Definitely had a better social life at Sale than anywhere else. But I think that was an age thing rather than a rugby thing.
What did it feel like to represent your country for the first time?
Very, very difficult to answer a question like that, because it's about describing your emotion, right? So I was pretty lucky. It happened early on in my career, actually. But it's not a short answer either. And the best way to describe it is through the experience itself, right? Rather than like a single feeling, because it isn't a single feeling, right? It's a whole mix of emotions from kind of like first time you find out and you're in the selection meeting and what that means and the realisation of it and the emotion that brings, which is real elation, and then through the prep and the build up of the week, the nerves, the trepidation, fear. It's proper fear. Yeah. It's not like a little bit of fear. Through to the trip to the stadium, the mental kind of resilience you've got to show, the focus you've got to have when you've got police outriders and it's an escort down to the stadium, and there's fans waving everywhere, kind of walking into the stadium, and then the prep and the build up to the game and what that feels like, and I guess how you're conquering your doubts and your fear, because I don't care who you are, right? You're playing at the highest level against the best players in the world. Nobody knows they're going to succeed in that environment. I don't care who you are. Even the very best players that have ever lived fail in that environment from time to time. And you see that in the changing room, and you see guys that you and have respected and know are strong, resilient, hard men throwing up in a toilet, and praying and all sorts of crazy stuff, and then right down to kind of like action time, when you're kind of in the changing room and the build-ups come in, and then you're in the tunnel, and just before you walk out, and and the fireworks are going off, and the noise is so deafening that you actually, the only way I could describe the noise that we got when we first ran out was it was so loud you couldn't hear it. It was like it was pulsing in and out of your ears, and then you turn around and you sing the national anthem, and it's incredibly emotional. You look in the stand and you see all your friends and your family and your loved ones and all the people that have been there. So through all of this, right the way through to the very first whistle that goes off, and you take off like a madman trying to find someone to hit. You know what I mean? So I guess it isn't a single emotion. It's every emotion, right? It's every emotion under the sun, and but it doesn't disappoint. It's everything you dream as a child it would be. It's just way more complex. So how did I feel? Yeah, amazing. And after it, absolutely exhausted.
You played flanker for most of your career.
Yep.
What position would have been second choice?
I don't know, I played 6, 7 and 8.
Yeah.
So I kind of saw all three as interchangeable. So I played for England at 6, 7 and 8. Got capped in all three positions. I think my early caps were at 7, and then I played a few at 8, and I got some at 6, and even got one cap on the wing, believe it or not, and scored a try. Although I don't like to brag. But that was only because we ran out of players. So I think I would class 6, 7, 8 as interchangeable. Practically the same position, right? Yeah. For the modern day back row, most can play 3 positions. You get your odd big ball carrier. If there was another position I probably would have liked to play, maybe fullback.
Okay.
Played quite a lot of fullback as a youngster, and I kind of enjoyed the perspective that fullback gets on the game. When to come into the line, when to, and I think you can have a really big influence on the game as a fullback, albeit you probably don't get as many opportunities to be involved in a game. I think when you are, you do it. A class fullback really has a huge impact on the game. So yeah, if I was fast enough, maybe fullback.
Well, you played on the wings. So.
Yeah, I ran out of players.
What was your favourite and least favourite moment in an England shirt?
Wow, tough question that, blimey. I haven't got one favourite. Winning Hong Kong Sevens, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Love that. First cap's always special. Captain in England for the first time in Australia, that was special. Man of the match performance against the All Blacks at Twickenham, that was special. So there's a few, right? It's not as easy to go, oh, that was my favourite, but there's 4 or 5 special ones. And I mean, Hong Kong's right up there. That was a great experience. Really loved that. And because that was a real collective thing. So I really enjoyed that. So I'd say any one of those 4, they're kind of all kind of up there. Worst moment in an England shirt. I got carried off against South Africa in Bloemfontein. That was pretty good. I've sweared.
I'll cut that out.
Sorry.
That's right.
So carried off against South Africa in Bloemfontein. That was bad. I mean, with a kind of suspected broken neck and 4 hours in the spinal board in Bloemfontein Hospital. That was not great. I thought that's probably it, actually. I think it was 2007. It was just before the World Cup, and yeah, that was tough. Because you also doubting where you're going, right? Are you ever going to play again, and all that sort of jazz. So that was a pretty horrible feeling.
Yeah, well, everyone has their off days, don't they?
It wasn't so much off. It was more the fact that I didn't know whether I had a career ender. Do you know what I mean? So I was in a hospital in South Africa. There's no way to phone anybody.
Yeah.
I knew there was something seriously wrong because I was getting all sorts of funny tingling pains, and I just didn't, and that was really tough. But in many respects, actually, some of the hardest things aren't so much single instances on the pitch. It's more selection based, right? It's more like, are you in, are you out? How do you find out? And those are the toughest ones. And as you kind of work through your career, you get better at coping with them. But early years, kind of like England selections and not getting picked, they were tough.
Yeah. Like you were saying about your injury, you retired at 33. Was that your choice or medical advice?
It was not my choice. I mean, no, I got a really bad injury. So I was playing against Bristol at the Memorial Ground at the time before they moved to Ashton Gate, and picked up from 8, and for whatever reason the guy didn't put me down, and the centre came from about 20 metres away, about Fatty Alofa his name was, and just did like a closed shoulder tackle on me, and his shoulder hit the back of my shoulder and shattered my shoulder blade and into about 5 pieces. Like, so painful. Big old fight ensued. It was a really illegal tackle. I just kind of got up and I was like, crikey, I can't move my arm, and I couldn't move my arm at all. It wasn't like, and it later transpired that I had a really bad neural injury. So I went off the pitch and spent 6 months trying to rehab it, and then eventually I went to see a nerve guy, and he went, no, you've severed the suprascapular nerve, and that's it, game over. And then I guess the realisation that you've got to go find something else to do, right? Because it was time to retire, if I'm honest. I played from the age of 17 for Sale, so it's probably a good time to retire. It's probably about, my body's pretty knackered now. I probably played a bit too much, to be fair. But I just don't know anybody in their right mind that would stop playing voluntarily. So much fun. One thing I've learned is that do it if you're lucky enough to do something you love doing and get paid for it, then you've kind of cracked one of the big secrets to a happy life. No, it was not voluntary.
So, had any of your family played professional sport, or were you the first to represent the Sanderson family?
So I think grandfather was an Olympic diver. My dad was decent at sport, but again, don't forget, quite a long time ago, so there wasn't much by the way of professional. So there was some heritage in the family for sure. And then soon after me and my brother was only 2 years apart, I'll join Sale and play professional sports. The pair of us did it, I guess, in conjunction in many respects, but I think professionally I would say I'm probably the first.
Oh, you always want to be the first one, don't you?
Well, you've got brothers, you know what it's like.
I know, yeah.
Wouldn't want to be second.
If my brother got there before me. So you toured around most of the world in your sporting achievements. If you could live in one of those countries permanently, which country and why?
I live here because I want to live here.
Yeah.
Right. So I like England. I like our culture. So and that's why I live here. If I had to pick another one, I'd probably go for South Africa.
Nice.
But then I think it's as much about personal experience of it. I spent a long time out there, and played a lot of rugby out there. Made some great friends, and I've got a lot of good friends. And yeah, I just love the country. I love the culture. I love the people. I just think it's really direct, really honest. Got good values, but it's also got its problems, right?
Yeah.
And I think if it didn't have those problems to the same extent that it has got them, that could very well be there, if I'm honest with you. It just isn't safe for a family, but I absolutely love South Africa.
Yeah, because you've also been out to Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah, done Australia. I've done loads, right? I mean, we used to spend, you forget, we toured the whole of Europe, we did South America, North America, Canada. We played rugby literally all over the place. And on the Seven Circuit, we did LA, we did Wellington, we did, all over the place. There was 10 or 12 7 Series events, Singapore, Hong Kong, so we saw a lot of the world. Well, we travelled a lot of the world. I don't know how much what we actually saw, because you're there to do a job to a certain extent. So you're limited in terms of how much you see the place. But I fell in love with South Africa.
Yeah, that's one place I haven't been.
It's a great place.
Yeah, I want to go there now. Was there anything that you didn't like about being a professional sportsman?
I guess there's lots of little things, right? So on balance, no, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Loved being fit, loved being healthy, loved being active. I don't know if I love getting beaten up every weekend. Let's be honest. You become conditioned to it, and it becomes part of what you do, so you don't really think about it. It wasn't a problem. But I suppose, when I look back on it, I think I was a bit mad. But it's incredibly stressful, right? The body doesn't really differentiate between physical and emotional stress, and you get plenty of it playing rugby, right? The highs and the lows are massive. The injury setbacks, and the stress associated with that and selection. You're in one week, you're out the next, or you have a couple of bad games, and that could be you out of that club, and you have to sell your house, you have to relocate, you have to restructure your life. Now, I was really lucky. I didn't move much. When I did move, I moved on my terms. When I did have injuries, I recovered well. But I see the stresses associated with professional sport, and they are massive. And then I guess you couple that with the physical stress and the impact that has on the body and the mind. I guess, did I enjoy it? I guess in a way you become addicted to it. So I better don't look back and go, I didn't like that, because it just becomes part of what it is. And the ability to deal with it and deal with it well is absolutely one of the contingent parts about being great at what you do. But I don't miss it,
Okay. Yeah.
I don't miss that side of it. I miss the culture, I miss the people, I miss the team environment, I miss the performance culture, where people want to do well and everyone's aligned and moving in the same direction. But the stresses that I guess I just became accustomed to from doing it from such a young age and for so long, I don't miss those.
Yeah, because you always think when you see professional sportsmen that you think it's all dreams, and then there are tough parts which you don't really see.
Yeah, look, to be at the very top of your game, to play for England and to play for a long period of time. I said it, I think, at the start. You have to be enormously selfish, because it is all about you and getting right. So it's like your partner might want to go out drinking on a Friday night. Well, that isn't going to happen, not with you, right? It's like, and you've got to eat right, sleep right, train right. It's got the whole structure of your week, your day, your holidays. They're all governed by you getting yourself right to perform at the weekend. So yeah, it's a funny business when you look back on it. At the time, you're in it and it's part of your dream and you're working towards it and you just, you do it, don't you? But actually the impact it has on everyone around you is massive.
Yeah. What advice would you give to a rugby junior who wants to make it as a professional?
Depends how old they are. So, at different stages in your life and in your career, different things are important. And I think the path that people follow is almost universally the same. When you're very young, it's about enjoying it, and it's just about enjoying it. And then if you enjoy it, you work hard at it. It's like maths. It's like music. It's like you've got a teacher you like and you enjoy it, and they make it fun, and you try hard. And when you try hard, you get better at it. And if you get better at it, then you start to associate yourself with it, and then it starts to become part or help you form part of your identity. And then if you get better still, it then becomes your life, and it's a real commitment and a dream. And then from there, you go into, so everyone kind of goes through those phases. But so depending on what age they are, the advice is different. But I think the most important thing in all of that is, there's a couple of things. But one, it's like, concentrate on your values and your behaviours, not the outcome. If you worry about whether you're getting picked, or you worry about whether you're playing well or not, you're not thinking about the right things. The right things are like, do I work hard? Am I part of the team? Can I be trusted? Am I resilient? All that sort of stuff. And the processes and did I run that line right? Did I make that tackle right? So concentrate on the building blocks of what make you good, not the output. It's probably the best advice you can give anybody, because we all get caught up, and in that, maintain an open mindset to learning, no matter who you are, how good you think you are, how old you are. The minute you kind of close yourself off, and this doesn't just apply to professional sport, this applies to everything. Almost everybody will say, I'm bad at this subject, like I'm bad at French, and you can always trace it back to the fact they don't like the teacher. It's not that they're bad at French, it's that they didn't try at French. They didn't want to. It's because you close your mindset down. Society closes people down. It pigeonholes people at a really early age. Like, oh, he's not this, he's this, and you're not that, you're this. And all of a sudden that closes you down. And so it's really important that no matter how old you are or where you are in your stage of development, that you maintain an open mindset, that you can always learn, always get better. That is the single biggest contributing factor to, the expression of, if you think you can, is a really base expression, but it's very true when you look at the science behind it. About creating an open mindset, it's massively important. First thing up being accepting that, I'm going to try, I'm going to fail, but I'm going to get better over time. That's an open mindset.
Yeah. Is education as well key to success in sport as well?
So education is a funny thing, because what is education? So do I think the best sports people are clever people? Yeah, I do. But how do you measure cleverness? Cleverness is measured in so many different ways, IQ, EQ, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's all sorts of different ways to measure someone's smarts, as it were. And so education, and by that I mean someone's ability to learn, I guess like a pyramid, right? So the broader you are at the base, the higher your pyramid will become. So, playing multi-sports, being bright and intelligent and have an engineering mindset and a problem-solving mindset, and you can plug all the ability to, deal with individuals and have emotional intelligence. All these things contribute to the individual, and the more of that you've got, the higher you can build, and the more you'll achieve. And certainly the best players I played with were incredibly intelligent people, incredibly intelligent people, but that doesn't mean they were good at maths, right? There's loads of ways to be intelligent, and so going back to your education, the right type of learning environment for somebody is really important. Is probably a better question.
Yeah. You were saying about your base. What other sports did you do at school?
Oh, I did every sport. Really? Like, just give me anything to kick or carry, and I've done it. It's like, I loved it, absolutely loved it. So I played every sport, genuinely every sport. I was a decent basketballer. I went to a football school, so I played football at school, didn't play rugby at school till I was 16, and then I went to rugby school. Oh, wow. But I played rugby at a club, and I did play, and I played representative rugby, but I played football at school. Did loads of athletics, because it's just a great carryover sport. If you can run, sprint, jump, then those are the foundations for most sports. But I didn't deliberately do it. I didn't go, do you know what I mean? I'm going to do athletics because... I did, but not until I was kind of like mid-teens. At the start, it was I just going to enjoy myself. And there's an awful lot of studies done around multi-sport athletes being the best, the best performance. So I don't know, what's the cricketer called? A really good one. It'll come to me in a minute. But, there's so many examples of, well, you know it yourself, right? The first team rugby squad is 90% the first team cricket squad, and it's 90% the first team hockey squad, right? It's just how it is. It's like, so there's a massive correlation between the carryovers of sport and the importance of playing multi-sport. And the cricketer will come to me in a minute. It's going to bug me.
When you was playing for England, was there anyone being in like the Joker role, trying to have a laugh? And if so, what was the funniest thing that they did?
Oh God! I mean, most of it I can't tell you about. To be honest. Less so England, actually. More so when I was at Worcester and Harlequins, we had a chap called Matt Pyle, who was a nutcase. Because with England, you've got to be a little bit well behaved.
Yeah.
And particularly when Clive, when Clive took over, he really did knuckle down. There was just a fairly suffocating discipline about the place, if I'm honest with you. It took away a bit of expression, wasn't great. But at club level, you can't do that, right? Because people just won't tolerate it. You need to be able to express yourself, and because you're together all the time, you can go and have a 3-week, 4-week block with England where you've got to behave. But club level, this is your life. You're there every day. We had a chap called Matt Pyle who stole someone's dogs from someone's house. And effectively made 2 holes in the fence so it looked like they buried under the fence, and kept him for a week, which was hilarious, genuinely hilarious. And then gave him back about a week later after the poor guy had put, lost dog signs all over Cheltenham. And I mean, I could give you so many examples of it. In that environment, the problem was no one had any sense of proportion, nothing was off limits. You could just do whatever. It was and it didn't really, as long as it wasn't illegal and got you locked up, or better still, just didn't get you locked up, then you just got on with it. And we were continually thinking of new ways to get each other, and invariably someone was a bunt of the joke one day or the other.
Oh, that sounds quite funny.
It's terrible, isn't it? Imagine, it's like someone nicked your dogs. That's what he did, he nicked his dogs for a week.
Something a bit more off sport. If you could run the country, what changes would you make?
I don't know, I've got no idea. I've never given it any thought that no one would ever ask me to run the country. A bit of a socialist at heart, if I'm honest with you, albeit, hard to imagine. Certainly kind of like a moderate, kind of like centre-left, that would say my beliefs are. The one change I'd make would be education. When you think of the influence that education has on young people at an early age, and the difference that you could make if you had the very best people effectively bringing up for the next generation. I think that would be the most positive change we could make, and you do that by employing the best people, paying them properly, culturally recognising the education system and teachers in particular as a really fundamentally important part of what we do. And I think it's a bit of an afterthought, and I think it's as a result, I think we've got an okay education system. But some nations like Finland, for instance, they've got an amazing education system, and in Finland, to be a teacher carries the same reverence that to be a doctor or a lawyer does in this country. And I think that's probably if I could do one thing, it would be that.
Okay, yeah, we're always a key part to everyone's lives, so I think everyone should have equal opportunities.
Yeah, it's partly about equal opportunity, but it's more just about increasing the quality, right, of how we educate our children, and having the best people do it, and people aspiring and respecting and those people, and then I think you can affect so many people, and then over time as those well-educated people move through the system, they themselves add more value, right? And we become a better place to live. And so that's what I would do. And in it, have a far greater focus on how you develop people's emotional intelligence, not just their IQ.
If you could host a dinner party and you just have 3 people on the list, past or present, who are they and why?
I don't know. 3 people. Honestly, right, I'm terribly antisocial. Don't do loads of dinner parties. I've got like a handful of mates that I picked up over the course of time, and I haven't really got time for anybody else but them. So I'd pick my best mates. Millsy, you don't know him. Moro, he's great, you'd love him. And their missuses, because I suppose that's allowed, right? And their kids,
so, yeah.
and we just get blind drunk and fall asleep at the dinner party. So, but to answer the question, if I had to pick really well-known people, Hulk Hogan, think he'd be awesome at a dinner party, wouldn't he? Yeah. Okay, Hulk Hogan. Probably Donald Trump, because I think those two would be great in a fight. and then like a sensible choice, maybe someone like a Nelson Mandela. So I've met him a few times in the rugby world, and like very, very special character, like really amazing person to meet, and doesn't mind a party.
And last question. You're a Man City supporter.
Yeah, how do you know that? I mean, me and about 5 others.
How comes you chose the blue side over the red side?
Well, believe it or not, it's a Catholic Protestant split.
Okay.
Which is not the answer you were expecting, is it?
No, it wasn't actually.
That's not why though.
Oh,
I am Protestant.
Yeah.
City are the Protestant side, but my dad was a City fan, and we lived in Manchester, and Dad was a City fan because he was a Protestant.
Okay.
And that's kind of how it happened. So I guess I'm second generation City in that respect. I followed City, from an early age. I can remember when they were way down the leagues. And,
and now they've won the league. So.
Well, this is it. I can remember when they were playing Gillingham and in the playoff cup final. I can remember the video following the Gallagher brothers out because the boy was all gone, and then we came back and won it. So yeah, I mean, but to be fair, I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because I love sport. It was such a massive part of my life, but I don't watch a lot of it.
Okay.
Just that might do, that's a lie. I watch my children play sport, but I don't watch a lot on TV. I don't go to games. I don't, and I don't know whether that's because it's just not the same as playing it, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, and thank you guys for watching.